Hey guys, Razorblade Mango here, and today I just wanted to do a brief thoughts video on Cuphead, the delicious last course, which is the first and assumedly final piece of DLC for the 2017 smash hit Cuphead. So Cuphead and I have had a very weird history where I made a video that was in hindsight premature back in the day, where I basically said, alright Cuphead, you win. And it was basically a video where I recognized that while the game itself was very good and very enjoyable, I just didn't have the patience nor skill at the time to overcome its difficulty, especially in the last portion of the game, the third aisle. And I think maybe either like 9 months to a year later, when I bought the game for my buddy Michael, he went through it on his Twitch channel, and that inspired me to go back and try to finish the game again and you know, finish what I started. And I did. I went back and I beat the game, and I have really liked the game ever since. It's not perfect. I think those run and gun levels are awful. I think some of the boss fights, the RNG in it can get a bit bullshit, especially things like the infamous dragon and that stupid bee one. I hate those two. But despite the issues I still have with it, I think Cuphead is a very good game. I love its animation. Its animation is the stuff of legend now. The soundtrack is amazing from Christopher Madigan, and most of the boss fights are really well designed and really fun. Most of the boss fights hit that sweet spot between being a challenge that is really tough but fun to still go through. And you feel this sense of, you know, as EA would like to put it, pride and accomplishment when you beat a boss in that game, that it feels earned most of the time. And this is what brings me to the delicious last course, which my stupid ass didn't realize for a while that it was a play on the acronym DLC. So that goes to show how much awareness I have of a game trying to make a joke. But I finished it on stream. Finished in that I played through it, beat each boss once. I haven't gone back to do expert. I haven't tried to S-rank them or anything like that. I just wanted to make a video talking about how much I love this DLC. I think this DLC not only is great on its own terms, I think they went back and tweaked and refined the formula that they started with Cuphead. And they even took a lot of my criticism of that game into consideration, not personally, but I think the general consensus of, we hate these run and gun levels, we hate some of the RNG, we hate some of these stupid boss fights where you have the random platforming and stuff like that. And they took that criticism and they worked on this DLC for 5 years. And the thing is with this DLC is that I've seen people complain that the length is too short and they wish there was more. For me, it's the opposite. I think it is the perfect length because this is a case of lots of depth, lots of style, lots of detail. And that outweighs the quantity, where this is a case definitely of quality over quantity. Because even though there are only 6 bosses in this game, there's no run and gun levels, in each of these boss fights, there is so much meticulous attention to detail, so many little things to notice, so much flawless, smooth animation that it's crazy. And when you watch the animation in this, even the little things that are happening in the background to the big forefront things with the bosses, you can tell that Studio MDHR spent a lot of time making this DLC, a crazy amount of time. even more so than the original. You can tell that the animation has even compared to Cuphead's legendary standards, it has gone a step up as far as the quality, and that is remarkable. But this game wouldn't be as fun as it is without the fun factor, actually, with these boss fights being well designed, which I think almost all the boss fights in this DLC are extraordinary. There are only maybe 2 that I'm less crazy about. I think the secret boss fight sucks, quite frankly. The secret boss fight, which thankfully mercifully short, but it's not very good. They could have just scrapped that. And then maybe if I were to pick one boss out of the rest, I'd say probably the dog fight one can get a little It's not my favorite out of the bunch, but the rest, I love them. I had so much fun fighting them. My favorite one, maybe my favorite boss in the entire game with the base game included, is the cowgirl fight and her 4 phases, which are so funny and creative. I love it. Second place I'd probably give to the bootlegger one, where you're basically interrupting this battle between the cops and these bootleggers, and it's so funny how you're basically just stuck in the middle of this, just trying to survive the assault from both sides. It's a really creative boss fight. And of course the final boss, which I won't spoil here, is awesome, totally worthy of being a final boss. Love his soundtrack. I think it's a better final boss than the devil, honestly, from the base game. Speaking of soundtrack, music, I mean, Cuphead's music in the base game is like, come on, it's fucking amazing. It really is. Like, in a year, 2017, when this game came out, there were a number of games that year that had really, really amazing soundtracks. See, this was the year that shit like Persona 5 came out in the West. This is the year that Super Mario Odyssey came out, which has an amazing soundtrack. Persona 5 soundtrack, like, oh my god, how do you stack up to that? I don't think Cuphead's necessarily better than Persona 5's soundtrack, but in a year where those games came out, this is how fucking good the soundtrack is, where I still remember it after all this time. There were better games released in 2017 whose soundtracks I can't even recall like a single tune from them. And yet Cuphead, the soundtrack, I still go back and listen to that soundtrack from time to time. And this DLC is no exception, where there are so many catchy tunes, from the title theme to the boss themes. The final boss theme in particular, when you listen to it isolated, is outstanding. If you were to, if they were to take away some of the more Cuphead isms in the soundtrack, you could put that in a Kingdom Hearts boss and it wouldn't sound out of place. That's how convinced I am of its high standard of quality, that I'm gonna go that far. And all of these things combined, they just create this really excellent package, and the best thing about this DLC too is it's only $8. Like, I feel like I'm ripping off Studio MDHR by only spending $8 on this. If you haven't played Cuphead yet, I highly recommend it. It's really good. And if you have Cuphead and haven't bought Delicious Last Course yet, oh my god, like, what are you doing? Don't stop this video and go out and buy it. Come on. What the fuck are you doing? So, anyway, those are my thoughts on Cuphead, the Delicious Last Course. Makes me sad that there aren't going to be any more DLC packs for this. I would gladly pay for another one in 5 years' time. But this hopefully means Studio MDHR is going to move on to their next project, whatever that's going to be. I'm sure we'll see it maybe 3-4 years from now, and then it will come out maybe 5 to 6. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. These developers deserve all the success in the world because of this game. You can tell that this is a labor of love. They've poured so much of their heart and soul into it, and it's so stylish and it's so unique. And overall, Cuphead, it's one of the defining games of the century, as far as I'm concerned. I know that sounds like hyperbole. I truly believe that Cuphead is one of the more unique and defining games of the century. It's just in terms of historical context, it's extraordinary. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all later. Bye. Bye.